Welcome to Living Local with Lori. Hi, I'm Lori Johanneson, a top performing realtor in Naperville and the surrounding suburbs. My goal with Living Local is to connect my friends, my family, and my clients to local area experts. Today, I'm happy to have Blake Rosenberg back on my Living Local. He is a local real estate attorney, and he's here to talk about post-possession, which is something I'm seeing a lot on contracts, as well as he said he is too. So Blake, I'll let you take it from here.
Thanks a lot, Lori. Happy to be back and provide some insight on stuff going on in the real estate industry. Especially lately, I've seen a lot of post-possession agreements. Some of that has to do with sellers needing to find a place. So if they're able to sell their house, which are going very quickly in this market, they want some time to find some place to go to. One of the pitfalls that I'm finding recently, first off the top, most attorneys are not huge fans of post-possession, and that's because it adds some complexity to the transaction. But I think if you draft the proper post-possession agreement, you can mitigate a lot of the risks. And our firm is very comfortable with doing that. But one of the pitfalls we're seeing is that sellers want a lengthy post-possession, like a 3-month or a 6-month post-possession, because they want to make sure they have enough time. One of the things you have to understand is that a buyer buying an owner-occupied property, so they're getting a loan for their primary residence, which is the majority of buyers. The lender has a requirement on a primary residence that the buyer take possession within 60 days. So therefore, if the seller is asking for a possession longer than 60 days, that's going to cause a problem. So you won't be able to meet the lender's requirement on the buyer side and the lengthy post-possession. So in those cases, we're working on negotiating, either moving the closing date back to accommodate the final date the seller wants to stay in the property to make that within that 60-day window, or moving the possession date up for the same reason. But it's something to consider when listing or making an offer, although you may be willing to let the seller stay there as long as they want. And your lender has, requirements as well. And you'll be signing a form at closing stating that you're taking possession within 60 days. And I think having a contract or an agreement that says you're allowing the seller to stay there longer would violate that document you signed. So, attorneys have to protect their client's interests. So I know some buyers are like, that's fine, we'll stay in the property, but we want to make sure that, you're not doing anything like committing mortgage fraud.
Right. So it's making sure from a realtor standpoint and the buyers and sellers that you are looking at all aspects of what could potentially be an issue. I mean, it's crazy. I'm even seeing, and I don't know if there's any legal issues where the buyer is allowing the seller to stay in the house rent free. Like, I don't know if that adds a whole nother element of risk. If you see that, it's not a lot I'm seeing it, but I am hearing about it.
We have had that. The rent-free option is just another way that the buyers are using, just another tactic to win when they're in a multiple offer. The rent-free, I don't think hurts anything. Obviously, it's just a financial consideration in the transaction. From the legal standpoint, we really like to see some type of an escrow. You can look at it as like a security deposit and a lease, but we don't like to actually create a quote unquote landlord tenant situation. You want it to be a true post possession, but the escrow, $5,000 or $10,000, depending on the purchase price of the home, that says if the seller doesn't move out, this money's sitting there to cover damage to the home or any expenses incurred in having to get the seller out in the event that they decided not to vacate in a timely manner. So the free rent, just a rental consideration, which is obviously helps the buyer out. But if they're willing to give up that compensation, I don't worry as much about that as I do if there's no escrow. Then there's no, like, a $10,000 is a motivation for the seller to follow the agreement and move out in a timely basis and not damage the property.
What percentage of time do you see that escrow that is being held until the seller moves out is fully refunded?
I'd say the vast majority. I mean, 90% of the time. Every once in a while, you'll have something minor, but a lot of the minor stuff is pretty easy to get by. To me, like anything else in this industry and in dealing with residential real estate, it's setting client expectations, like being reasonable. Everybody has a different definition of broom clean. So, maybe it wasn't professionally clean and that was the buyer's expectation. And therefore they want to keep it, like, as the attorneys and the real estate professionals working with both sides, you have to set those expectations so they understand that what broom clean is, and when that escrow is subject to covering damage.
Excellent. No, all very, very good information. I even have more that I think we could share and continue to talk about, but we'll save that for another great topic. But Blake and his team are absolutely phenomenal when it comes to being local real estate attorneys. You should definitely hire a real estate attorney just versus a random attorney who does it sometimes, because Blake is in and out of this stuff every day, knows how to handle the situations and help make sure that the process goes smoothly on all ends. So thank you for being a part of Living Local.
I appreciate it.
Please remember to follow us on our social media channels, as well as livinglocalwithlori.com.